Hello, all, and welcome to Degrees of Freedom, where I go over 5 slides in 15 minutes about the note industry so you can be enlightened about your own degrees of freedom. My name is Dr. E, and if that is something you'd like to learn more about, hit that like button, hit that subscription button, and also hit the notification bell. Today, we have a really interesting and humbling episode for you. This is episode 9. We are smack in the middle of our, well, probably more than halfway through actually, our 15 series, Snackable. And today we're going to talk about my own story. We're going to talk about what makes me tick, a little bit of my history, a little bit of my investing, what I've learned over the years, where my degrees are from, what tools I'm using to actually trade on, and more. So, without further ado, let's just get into it. So this is Dr. E's story. My name is Dr. Engerman. I have a PhD, but it is not in law. It is not in investment, and it is not as a financial strategist. I'm not a CPA. I'm neither of those things. I'm not licensed. Engerman Estates is not liable for any losses resulting from any actions taken by a viewer based on the information presented or shared on this channel. Engerman Estates cannot promise earnings or returns based on historical reports or achieved by any party or affiliate in connection with the information presented. So, here's a little collage of me. I know it's my collage. It's not neat. It's quite dirty, but not dirty. It's just a bit, like life, I guess. And it kind of represents my journey. I was born and raised in the Boogie Down Bronx, Albert Einstein Hospital, to be precise. And I was raised by a Gloria and Alfonso Engerman. There are great pictures of them in here. If you can see, my beautiful mother and beautiful father. He is beautiful, beautiful man. They're both very much together, very much alive. I always give a shout out to them because that is my beginning. That's my rock. I grew up in an SDA church. If you don't know what that is, that's a Seventh-day Adventist church, a very big part of my history and my story. Here's my good friend, best friend, cousin, my brother, who I grew up with in the Bronx. My sport, football being one of the main ones, but basketball and swimming and some others. Family's a big part of who I am, and my base, and camp is a big part of that as well. So we'll get into more of my story in a minute, but since 2002, I want to say. It's been about 20 years. I spent a whole lot of my more recent years in college. There are my degrees. East Stroudsburg University, I got a math degree in education. And then I went off and taught at Wallenpaupack. That's why I have this picture here, which is the second largest man-made lake in Pennsylvania. And then I got a master's degree in teaching and learning. And then I got a PhD from Penn State. I went back to Penn State. So I actually started at Penn State University with an undergrad in computer science and engineering. And then I switched to math. And then I switched to ESU to get my teaching cert. And then I get the master's at Wilkes. And then I finished business with the PhD. And you can look at it here right above my head. It's that blue and that fist there. In learning design and technology. And learning design and technology or instructional systems is really about optimizing human performance. It is also learning science. It's learning design and technology is a technical term. So it came out of the Department of Learning Performance Systems. And what that is we engineer understanding. And that is across the K-12 spectrum, the adult learning spectrum. So both in that traditional education space, but also in the medical field, the Army, the training and workplace and workforce development, those entire environments. I chose to spend a large portion of my time, however, in that K-12 spectrum. I wanted to make change on the ground where young people were. And I started that with the YMCA in my volunteer work with the YMCA as a camp counselor. And then I moved on to lifeguard trainer I did lifeguard training, and then I was a lifeguard trainer. And also, what I did there was AED training. I trained people in AED, first responders, workforce, and CPR first aid. I did that for quite some time and did that for a couple of American Red Crosses across 3 states. And then I really dug into education more formally, right? I got the degrees, and after that, I stepped into education in a more formal capacity. So I spent a large portion of my time doing that, definitely over a decade, over 15 years, really even going from K-12 up into higher ed, working where I work now at the university level. And what that afforded me the opportunity to do was to help train, mentor young people, especially those that look more like myself, because I felt that people of color needed more representation in the school environment, especially males in the school environment. You can see on the left here that I have this create anarchy towards transformational change. This is kind of my motto when I started and delivered my dissertation work, and a lot of my work that I do across the board with game-based learning. So if you look at the bottom in the middle, you'll see my dissertation work was Call of Duty and boys, and I wanted to look at boys as an underrepresented population, and the gaming space as an opportunity for young boys to learn STEM skills. And I found out some really fascinating and interesting things that you can go read in a 275-page document. No, it was mostly about problem-solving skills, computational thinking skills, and leadership and communication that the young boys were experiencing. I parlayed that into a National Science Foundation grant in the higher ed space, and was able to acquire $500,000 and then $600,000, which are smaller amounts for a project like this, but in the Innovative Technology Experiences for Students and Teachers program. Now, this is important as a part of my story because it does lead into my investing experience and where I am now. But before I get there, let me say that in the higher ed space, what I've been able to do and be a part of is building out an ecosystem that combines live, work, and play, and allowing that ecosystem and that environment to be a hub, or rather an incubator, for diverse and inclusive youth in my particular area. And so that means we brought all the latest and greatest technologies and tools and esports to the table, crafted an incredible environment where people live, work, and play, and then are trained towards STEM skills and STEM careers at my particular university. That's the type of work that I've been doing there. Now, what does this have to do with stocks, trading, and note investing in particular? Well, everything. Because I was looking at underrepresented populations, or diverse and inclusive populations, I needed to understand how investing and making money in economics had a role in their predicament. So I started with stocks and equities, and I started with Acorns and Stash, and Ameritrade is where I held a lot and still hold many of my equities and stocks, seeing up to 70% returns, 200% returns in stocks and equities, actually. So I've been actually pretty successful there. I migrated to the crypto space, and not migrated as in left stocks. I still have stocks and equities. But crypto is a vast new world, right? It is new money. It is new money. If you don't know what it is, I suggest you take a deep dive on it, because it's deep, it's coming, it's alive and well, and it's very important to understand what decentralized exchange and exchange of value is, and that's what crypto is to me. Bitcoin and Ethereum being the biggest of the two, making up about 86% of the entire market. If you want some advice, I'll give you real simple advice. Buy it, hold it. The end. Forex trading is another space that I'm into. And if you are into Forex trading, you don't just do it as a hobby, it's a lifestyle. So you wake up every day and you get into trading. So that's something I'm doing, seeing up to 36% return there. And then that migrated me to note investing. And so I do all of these things, all four. And note investing for me is the one that I spend a lot of my time and energy on, because I believe it has incredible return. With crypto investing, it has incredible return, but there's not much for me to do except for what I just told you, which is buy and hold. Stocks, the same thing, buy and hold. I'm not trading those. FX trading is the most active for me, but note investing is not the forex trading is not the most active. It's more active than the other two, but note investing is where I really have to put a lot of my time and energy, and I think it has the most upside in terms of owning assets, hard assets that people can use and trade and have incredible cash flow. Now, why am I here? Because understanding that investing is the pathway to controllership. Okay, when you own the assets, it's not just about owning them and having them. It's also about controlling them. So there's a difference between ownership and controllership, and I'll show you a simple example of that with the real estate industry. And so the real estate industry, when you own the property, for example, the real estate being a residential, being a commercial, the controllership still goes to the bank. Why? Because you're renting from the bank, unless you own it outright, and then you have controllership. But then if you really understand controllership, then you understand that it's still owned by taxes or your jurisdiction, right? So the taxes, if they're not paid, can still be a lead into the forfeiture of your own home if it's not taken seriously. So controllership's really important concept because it is the power to make decisions, okay, without having overhead. You'll get to that in 1 second. That'll become a little bit clearer for you. The other thing that I learned, besides the difference between ownership and controllership, was that the first business is in the home. And I don't care which home you're in. If you're living with mommy and daddy, if you have a spouse like I do, if you're living with your significant other, that's that's not a spouse, a wife or a husband, or you're living with your cousins. The first business is in the home. You have to be able to manage your own home and your own household first. My father says this: as long as there's breath, there's an opportunity. So whenever you think it's done, when you ever think it's over, you always think that as long as there's breath, there's opportunity. That's something that was really important for me, because although I might have lost quite a bit of dollars and cents, which I've lost quite a bit of dollars and cents at times, it's not all over, and that's something I think I carry with me that's really important. The speed of trust is incredible, and the speed of trust is rooted in relationships, and that's why I'm all about notes. And I think that it earns you more degrees of freedom, which we'll get to right there, if you own more of them and you have more relationships, because the speed of trust in the note game is about relationships. Let me walk you through that again. The speed of trust happens because you have to rely on a team, lawyers, realtors, contractors, so forth and so on. And so the speed at which you can move is the speed at which you can build those relationships. You see that? And that then releases your degrees of freedom. My degrees have degrees, literally. But yet, even in the position that I'm in, you still don't have degrees of freedom because you always have to answer to somebody. And what you've got to do is think about who you want to answer to. So the wealthy gardener is really important. Don't think I missed it. You really want to understand investing like growing a garden or tilling a garden. All right, so here's what we're going to do real quick. You need to understand who is my purpose. This is to give you some golden nuggets here, which I've given you a little bit, but here's some more. You need to understand who you're answering to. Okay, who do you answer to? Is it a boss? Is it your wife? Is it your mother? Is it your mother-in-law? And who do you want to answer to? This is something that I had to find out, and something that was really important to me. And now I'm creating a lifestyle where I get to answer to people that I want to answer to, that I want to answer to. That's important. One who heals, that's me. That's my name. My name means one who heals. It also, when my parents named me Jason, they thought it was one who rules, but it also means one who heals. Rebuilding communities is my game. Optimizing human performance is what I also do. And I believe in the concept of one family. We're all united under one unit, one race called the human race. And so these are my purposes to develop and really build this and live this out through investing in controllership. And I'll be doing that with notes. You should join me, and you should increase your own degrees of freedom. One family.